is a Thursday episode of Donno Daily here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Huge shout out to everybody joining us live. Even if you're listening back or watching back later on, you guys are really cool too. Make sure those watching us live on YouTube, you take advantage of the live chat feature. Comments very often will be flashed on the screen, whether we like your comments or not. If you want to make fun of Sean and Manny behind the scenes, you want to make fun of me, all comers, we appreciate the interactions. And of course, if you want to peep that tip jar and use that super chat as well, that is much appreciated. It's going to be a super busy show today, my friends. We're going to have on Ethan Skolnick, the big boss man himself, host of Starting 9. He's going to join us at 12:15. Ricky J. Marc, one of my favorites on this network, is going to join us at 12:40. We're going to talk some Heat and some crypto with Ricky. We're going to talk some Dolphins and some Heat with Ethan Skolnick. And guys, it's getting to be betting season, right? Those of you who wait for the NFL to roll around to place your wagers, that time is almost upon us. I am super bullish on BetUS.com. BetUS is the official sportsbook of Donno Daily. Bet with the 3-decade leader. Join now for a 125% bonus or a 200% bonus if you sign up with crypto. So 125% with a credit card, 200% with crypto. If you use our show code, when you make your deposit, type in 5RSN125 for a sweet, sweet bonus and bet sports, casino, horses, even pop culture, and more at betus.com. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS. How about the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill? Every episode is served by the Quarterdeck, the freshest seafood like oysters, Maine lobster, and sushi. I love their buffalo shrimp as well. They offer 2-for-1 happy hour all day, every day. Make the Quarterdeck your spot to watch every UFC pay-per-view fight with zero cover charge. The Quarterdeck, come for the food, stay for the fun. So Ethan's going to be, what did I say, 12:15 for Ethan? Yeah, so 12:15 p.m. for Ethan, 12:40 for Ricky J. Marc today. Those are the guests joining us on this show. By the way, for those following Dolphins training camp and following the comments of Brian Flores, it has been confirmed. 12:15. Ethan is already in the chat. All right, so we're going to pop a minute around 12:15. So it's been confirmed by Coach Flo. Tua is not going to play Sunday, and most starters are going to be rested. I agree with that 1,000%. The second game against Atlanta, where Tua was great, you want to end it on a high note. Don't risk any injury. He executed the offense flawlessly. Tua looked really good. Tua looked really sharp. We've seen his leadership all throughout training camp. We see his connection with Jalen Waddle, his connection with Myles Gaskin, his connection with Mike Gesicki, who has been absolutely splendid so far. The offensive line is getting better. They looked a lot better in the second preseason game than they did in the first. They've been getting better in practice as well. I would absolutely not risk Tua, nor would I risk most of the starters in the third preseason game. You treat this one like you would treat the fourth preseason game in years past. Flash up for me this tweet from Omar Kelly, who I think wrote this before Brian Flores made his announcement that Tua and most of the starters are going to sit. But Omar Kelly wrote, Will Fuller and Devontae Parker, they will practice today. Whether they play in the game is still undetermined. Quote, I feel reps are important. We have talked about it, haven't made a final decision yet. They're both veterans. I don't want to see Devontae or William Fuller V play this Sunday in the preseason finale at Cincinnati. I know that for Fuller, he's missed a ton of time. He actually just started practicing this week. Monday, Wednesday, and now today are Fuller's first 3 practices in a Miami Dolphins uniform. Now, I don't want to undersell the work that he's gotten with Tua behind the scenes because they've had throwing sessions, off-the-record throwing sessions throughout minicamp and OTA season. So Tua has done some one-on-one work with Will Fuller. Obviously, Tua played with Devontae Parker last year, even though Devontae missed some time. They've both been in this league long enough. I'm not risking preseason reps with them, especially if Tua's not on the field. Because what am I going to get out of risking injury for Fuller or for Parker in the third and final preseason game when they're catching passes from the the second and third string quarterback anyway? If Tua was going to be out there for a series, fine, let them play a series with Tua. But now that Flo has confirmed Tua is not going to be on the field on Sunday against Cincinnati, I wouldn't risk Parker or Fuller as well. The same reason why I'm not risking them in this third preseason game is the same reason why I've really not been that worried about them missing so much time in training camp, because veterans like that don't need training camp, and they especially don't need preseason as much. Would have loved to see Olindo Mare as quarterback, David. Start the kicker at quarterback. That's what I love, David, by the way. Start the kicker as a quarterback. What can go wrong? I have a feeling a lot could probably go wrong if you were to do something like that, man. Oh, good afternoon to everybody in the chat. I see Big Dan 305 is in. Good afternoon to you, sir. Yeah, we are back in the bunker today, guys. We were on location yesterday inside the Hard Rock Live in Hollywood with the show lighting and the star-studded background. I am back in the home bunker for today's show. That is the real star of the show. Welcome into Welch as well. Liam Eichenberg season. Well, welcome into you, Welch. Now, something we're going to get into a lot when Ethan Skolnick joins us as well. And he had a tremendous couple of episodes of Starting Five already this week. And I was watching his show on Monday, or Tuesday rather, where Ethan was talking about the factors that lead to all of this Tua Tagovailoa hate in the national media, and a lot of football fans take that cue. And we're trying to narrow it down. Like, why is it that Tua gets so much disrespect? And why is it people aren't patient with Tua the way that they've been patient with other rookie quarterbacks and guys heading into their second year in the past? Is it because he's Christian? Is it because he's Hawaiian? Is it because he went to Alabama? I think the biggest factors for me are just how hyped Tua was, because even a couple of years before he came out of college, Tua was already pegged as a number one pick. That's a lot of hype to have on your shoulders. You know, the fact that Justin Herbert, who was drafted a spot after him, played really well as a rookie adds a lot of pressure to that. But I love this tweet that 5 Reasons Sports put out there today. And this is something that Ethan's going to talk about with us in about 7 minutes when he joins us. Quote, "They are not allowed to take back their ridiculous takes about Tua. Tag them so we can keep a record." And the responses are great. I mean, one dude even says, this guy, Michael A. Valentine, says, no, it's the cocky Tua fans that are the problem, not the haters. You know, you get the names thrown out there. Oh, Colin Cowherd, of course, is prominently featured. Ryan Clark gets featured in some of these. Ryan Clark is a bit of a flip-flopper. There have been times on television when Ryan Clark, and I can respect his opinion more than I can respect the opinion of a Cowherd, because Ryan Clark played the game, and he played the game at a high level for a long time. So at least Ryan Clark's opinion, if he's going to bash somebody, it's coming from some kind of a place of knowledge, having played professional football. Whereas Colin Cowherd, he judges quarterbacks based on whether they wear their hats backwards or forwards. It's absolutely ridiculous. Mike Greenberg, to me, I know he got mentioned a couple times, is a big-time Tua hater, and he's got an anti-Tua agenda. So I wanted to go through an exercise, and I want you guys watching to chime in on this. Can we come up with an unholy trinity of Tua Tagovailoa haters? Can we come up with the top 3 media members who have an irrational hatred, borderline agenda on Tua? 2 guys, to me, guaranteed to make the list, and I will not hesitate. Colin Cowherd is the capitano. He is the head of the anti-Tua agenda train. I haven't heard the guy say one positive thing about Tua since he was drafted. Colin Cowherd, there has not been any flip-flopping. There has not been any wavering from Colin. He is driving the anti-Tua train, so he grabs a spot. He grabs the first spot in the unholy trinity of Tua haters. Number 2, another guy that, and I don't like this guy on TV. Maybe it's because he's a Jets fan. Maybe it's because he's such a cookie cutter broadcast guy. Maybe it's because he stabbed Mike Golick in the back at ESPN. I'm not a Mike Greenberg fan. And Mike Greenberg, has been a guy who's been driving an anti-Tua agenda going back to last fall. So Mike Greenberg, Greeny, gets a spot for me. Colin Cowherd and Greeny get guaranteed spots. You try to throw in a name like Ryan Clark, he's been hot and cold on Tua. I think Clark has been coming around and giving Tua some credit lately. I remember Ryan Clark writing a very complimentary tweet about Tua's performance in the second preseason game, okay? Dan Orlovsky is another one. I've considered putting Orlovsky in because he's taken a lot of unfair, unnecessary jabs at Tua, but he's also given Tua some compliments. For my third spot, you guys tell me if this is a cop-out, because I wanted to make this an unholy trinity. I didn't want to go with a Mount Rushmore because then I would be infringing on Mark Hochman's gimmick. I wanted to go with an unholy trinity here, 3. Can I group Max Kellerman and Stephen A. Smith into one spot? Can I get a ruling on that? Because they host a show together. And even David already wrote in, Stephen A. Smith is always number 1 on any hate list. Between Stephen A. and Max together, the two of them have really made some unfair criticism on Tagovailoa. So I am tempted to give them one spot. I guess if I had to choose one or the other to complete the trinity, I'd go Stephen A. over Max because, Stephen A. goes a lot more viral than Max Kellerman does, because if it's not boxing, nobody really cares what Max Kellerman has to say anyway. But I'd like to group the two of them together where the unholy trinity of Tua haters, Colin Cowherd, number 1, Mike Greenberg, number 2, Max and Stephen A., number 3. If I had to choose one, I would choose Stephen A. Smith. Here's something I don't want to see happen this coming season. I'm already seeing signs of this, okay? Tua Tagovailoa was judged very harshly last year for not lighting it up as a rookie. Never mind the fact that he went 6-3 as a starter. He did get benched twice, had a couple of poor performances, a couple of really good performances that people don't talk about. But Tua wasn't great his rookie year, and he would admit that. Didn't understand the playbook as much as he should have probably, and people jumped all over that. Ooh, Skip Bayless is another one. Thank you, Alfredo. I guess I only pay attention to Skip when he's trolling LeBron. So that's why I might have missed some of his Tua hate, because I usually focus in on Skip's LeBron hate, okay? But, last year with Tua, people ignored the valid excuses, right? Why was Tua not lighting it up in a rookie season? First of all, who is he throwing the football to? Geek Squad employees. I mean, for most of the season, his best receiver, and I do like this guy, like Mac Hollins was the best receiver in Tua's lineup for most of the year. His best receivers were hurt, and his receiving core has gotten a lot better this year. I think the offensive line is going to be better this year than they were last year. Never mind the fact that Tua was coming off of a hip injury, had major surgery and rehabilitation, wasn't even healthy enough to get on the field as a starting quarterback until October. And so, if there was some lack of understanding of the playbook, it probably had to do with the fact that Tua was literally learning to walk again in August and September before he could focus on throwing the football. So there were valid excuses that people ignore when you evaluate Tua's rookie season. I'm ready to get angry this year because, guys, there is a high probability that Trevor Lawrence, number 1 draft pick, golden boy out of Clemson, there is a high probability that he's not going to look good this year. But you know what's going to happen with Trevor Lawrence? People will cling to the valid excuses with Trevor when they ignored the valid excuses with Tua. Because you can already write up the excuse machine for Trevor Lawrence. Offensive line stinks. Wide receivers can't get separation. Head coach, a doofus who has no business coaching in the National Football League. He is a college coach, and his coach is going to leave that team high and dry at the first sign of adversity. His head's going to start aching again. Heart palpitations will be back. Urban Meyer is going to dip out so quickly if things aren't going his way. And so I can already predict it. If Trevor Lawrence, who's been struggling in training camp and in preseason for valid reasons, I give him that. But everyone is going to cling to those excuses and valid reasons why Trevor Lawrence struggles his rookie year when people ignored all of that stuff with Tua. And it drives me crazy. I'm already predicting inconsistent coverage. Number 5 overall pick from 2020, Tua Tagovailoa, was not given any excuses, any free pass, any scholarship whatsoever, when number 1 overall pick, Trevor Lawrence, is going to be given every freaking excuse in the book. I'm calling it right now, guys. I'm already predicting this. All right, we're going to bring in now our first special guest of the show, who is, he's got to get us those 5R hats. I'm repping Bitcoin today. even though Bitcoin's on a little bit of a dip today. But I'm bullish on Tua, as the title of this episode would say. So if I'm bullish, I'm wearing a Bitcoin hat today. I'm also bullish on the big boss man, who's kicking ass and taking names already this week with his new show, Starting 9, which streams weekday mornings at 9 a.m. here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Good afternoon, Ethan. How are you, sir? You got to unmute, my friend. This is a professional right there.
Oh, professional. You were here yesterday. Speaking of professionals, and I'm looking right behind me in my office, and I had about a dozen of these.
Oh, I should have grabbed. Yeah, I had to stop by so quick because I had to rush over to the Hard Rock that I forgot to ask you for a hat.
I got lots of hats. Anybody wants a hat, they come. You know what? Here's the deal. If you bring me lunch and I don't have to pay for Uber Eats, you get a hat. That's how I operate here.
That's how we're gonna do it. I'm gonna bring you some quarter deck next week.
Yeah, well, actually, I'm heading there at about 1:00. So yeah, you don't have to do that.
That is fantastic. And Ethan, I thought you've done a tremendous job already this week. And I really enjoyed, your conversation with CK on Tuesday about, why Tua gets judged this way, why there's this anti-Tua agenda. I mean, I don't know if you caught what I was saying before I brought you on, but are you expecting what I'm expecting? Because I think Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars, they're all going to have a bad year. I think Trevor's going to struggle this year. He's going to be given every excuse in the book when Tua was not given any excuses last year.
Yeah, I was talking to J-Rod about that today on 5 Reasons to Bet, and he actually kind of likes them over 5.5 for the season. I like them under.
Yeah,
I think they're a 4-13 or 5-12 team this year, and I think you're right, Alex. I do think he's going to be given excuses. I also agree with you that I don't think Urban Meyer is going to last longer than 2 years there. It's not his mentality to kind of stick things out. I wouldn't anticipate he does. But I think there's a lot of factors at play here. But I will say this, even after doing the show the other day and even after tweeting it out and getting people's reasons why it is that Tua is held to a different standard than it seems everybody else, I still really haven't identified the reason. I feel like there are 4 or 5 potential reasons. Some of them I don't give much credence to. He's an Alabama quarterback. I don't think anybody cares about that. I think when you take some mentioning a race issue, I do think that sort of non-white quarterbacks are held to a different standard typically.
Yeah.
But I don't really think that's at play here. People mention the religious angle. I don't know. I mean, Kurt Warner didn't really take a lot of heat for that. Mark Brunell didn't take a lot of heat for that. And they were more in your face.
Right. And Tebow did, but he was like the most in your face.
But he wasn't a quarterback. That's the thing.
He wasn't good. Yeah, it's another
He wasn't good. I mean, but I'm talking about like guys who are good. I don't think Tua throws in anybody's face. I think it's just something that guides him, which is different than we saw maybe even with Kurt Warner, to be honest, who kind of put it out there on a consistent basis. So I don't think it's that. So the only thing I can come back to, and I hate to always keep coming back to this because I know it sounds like a broken record, I just don't think people like Miami. I really think,
good point.
From covering the Heat for all those years, and particularly back to the Big Three, there is this kind of weird attitude that the national media, and let's be honest, the national media is basically in 2 places now. That's it, okay? Look at ESPN Radio's lineup. Everybody there is based in New York. Everybody. Okay. It's either New York or LA. All right. The national media does not represent the rest of the country, and they will cover some Boston. They'll cover some Cowboys, but for the most part, they're really only covering the teams out of that market or that have players, athletes who have profiles big enough to transcend in those markets. They don't like Miami. Okay. They all vacation here. Okay. They're all getting in our way as snowbirds, okay, from December through March, but I don't think they like Miami. We've seen that with the Heat. They felt the Heat that Miami did not deserve a super team in 2010 and on, and ever since, they've discredited everything that the Heat do. I think with the Dolphins were out of sight, out of mind for a long time. Tua had a superstar pedigree in college, and I think that there's just a lot of people who just don't want Miami to succeed. I mean, it sounds like a victim mentality here, but that's the only one of the reasons that I can really cite here. And I see it running a network that promotes Miami stuff, including your Canes pod.
Yeah, that's true. Well, and let me ask you, like, To get really down to the psychological nitty gritty here, like, what is it about Miami? Is it just jealousy that we get to live in this sort of a climate? Is it because one thing that I kind of wonder about, Ethan, is because you talk about everybody vacationing here and the snowbirds. I just think they don't respect the fact that there are locals here. Because I sometimes feel that way about Vegas, right? Because like, you know, every now and then I get out to Vegas and then like you forget there's people that are actually from here. Like when there are Vegas sports teams, like I actually know people who live there all
Alex,
their life.
is one of the fastest growing markets in the country. I mean, the suburbs of Vegas are you know, got incredibly populated over 10 years. I do think it's some of that. I fought this a lot when LeBron left Cleveland for Miami. Okay. This perception that everything in Miami is South Beach and that the real hardworking people are in Ohio. I will say there is a racial bias to that. There's no doubt in my mind. Okay. And I experienced that because again, I covered the Heat for 4 years during the Big Three after LeBron came down when we were defending LeBron against the rest of the country, but particularly people in Cleveland. And then I was the poor sap who got sent up to Cleveland by Bleacher Report in 2014 because I had a clause in my contract that said I'd be Miami based. And they said, well, you're the LeBron writer, though. That doesn't keep you out of a hotel in Cleveland. And so I spent 138 nights covering the Cavaliers. Okay, not all of them in Cleveland, thank God, but some of them in Detroit and Indiana.
Almost worse.
Right, and I will say this from having spent a lot of time in restaurants and bars up there and other. There is a perception that people who work hard look a certain way, and they live in a certain place. And I don't think that people recognize that when you go 5 steps from the arena, okay, in Miami, you're in some areas where people are working 3 jobs just to survive. They don't view Miami that way. That's not the national perception. It's the same thing as whenever they do a flyover and they show South Beach, when actually the Dolphins and the Canes are playing across from a Walmart, okay, and a racetrack gas station. They just assume everybody's out in bikinis. We know that that's part of this area. Okay, I live 2 miles from the beach, on Las Olas, but it's not this entire area. And so I do think that's a lot of it. I think with Tua, part of it is this need to be right. There are a lot of people who took a certain stance on Tua that never made sense. How are you going to judge a guy, okay, coming off major surgery, the type of surgery that would debilitate pretty much any athlete, but particularly one playing that position?
Yeah.
You're judging him on that with no preseason games last year, a shortened training camp, an offensive coordinator from the 50s, and I mean the 1850s, and and no weapons. He had no weapons. Okay. I mean, he had Gesicki, he had Parker, but Preston Williams, he started to trust, and he got hurt again because Christian Wilkins jumped on him. They didn't have enough players around him. Now they built an offense that suits him. They have coordinators who believe in him, and he's had time to heal and actually have a real offseason with real preseason games. And I think he's going to be terrific. Doesn't mean every game is going to be great, but I do think that you're looking at a guy who could be a Russell Wilson-like quarterback in the NFL. And if you look at Russell Wilson's first year, he won some games like Tua did. He averaged about 5 yards per completion or attempt. Yeah. I mean, he was averaging 130 yards a game. They didn't take sort of the ropes off of him either and let him play until later in his career.
Yeah, I want to shifting to some Heat. I want to compliment you and the 5 on the Floor crew. Awesome interview with Max Strus. And when I found out that was going up and that was happening, I felt like a kid on Christmas. Like I fell in love with the summer league dudes. Like I fell in love, and Strus, I started to fall in love with him last year. But Omer Yurtseven, Strus, Garrett, Giroux, who we unfortunately lost to Indiana. Like I fell in love with these guys. So that Strus interview was awesome. And I already see, like, Ethan, the revelation that's making the rounds on all the sports blogs was, and I'm totally the same way. The few times I've been around Pat Riley, him admitting that, he was afraid of Pat Riley. I mean, was that surprising to hear that? Because it wasn't surprising to me.
Well, you got to understand. I mean, I'm old and you're old, but Pat's older. And so, when you look at a lot of these young players, like, what Riley represents is different than what he did before. I mean, most people don't remember. I mean, the players coming up now don't remember him from Showtime. They weren't born. Right. They hardly remember him from the Knicks. They just remember him kind of putting the big three together. There's sort of a different type of aura to it. I think Max fits here. Like, you could just tell that he's one of those guys who buys into what they do, buys into the work. And let's just be honest, he's going to have to, because as much as I like their offseason, they put a lot of eggs in some kind of questionable baskets in terms of proven track records, right? I mean, they've got, they're expecting Strus and Vincent to play prominent roles off the bench a year removed from being two-way guys. They don't really have a lot of options there. Like you mentioned, the other two-way guys, I mean, if they sign Garrett, I mean, you're talking about another guy doesn't really have much experience. The roster is very heavy on age and also on inexperience, not necessarily youth. They've got some guys in their mid-20s, but who have not played a lot, okay, whether it's Omer or Strus or Vincent. And so what you kind of have is, when you have the guys at the top level, okay, well, you have older guys, you run the risk of injuries. Mm-hmm. And then when you have younger guys or inexperienced, you run the inexperienced guys, you run the risk of inconsistency. That's my concern with this Heat team. I think they're going to be a really tough out in the playoffs. I think they're built for the playoffs. You know what their 9-man rotation is going to be, okay? Eric's going to roll it out, or 8-man rotation. My question is, can they get to the playoffs healthy and in the right seed? They don't have a ton of depth on this roster. They've got a dead roster spot. I hate to say it, with KZ Okpala. They've got a dead roster spot, which is their 15th spot, which they're not going to use because they don't want to go over the tax. They have a dead roster spot with UD in terms of playing, even though I can tell you there are some in the organization who want Eric to actually use him this year, and I agree with them. I think there's no reason you can't roll out UD at the end of a quarter or at the end of a long road trip or at the end of a blowout and just let him set screens and rebound and save some other guys, because they got to get Lowry, Butler, Tucker, Markieff Morris to the playoffs. If they get them to the playoffs healthy, I think they're a tough out.
Yeah, I love what you're saying about UD, and you would know better than me, but the impression that I get on Udonis, who obviously he's very polarizing. He takes a lot of criticism. Then there are people like me who would take a bullet for the guy. But tell me if my impression is correct, that UD people have a problem with him taking up a roster spot, even though he's barely an NBA player at this point. But he approaches every practice, Ethan, as if he was preparing to play 48 minutes. Like, I think that's the thing people don't understand about UD is, even though you may not consider, I don't mean you specifically, but I'm talking to the collective you may not consider him to be a real NBA player, but he practices every day as if he was ready to be a starter.
Well, that's what Strus was. I mean, Strus said basically his pregame workouts are Jimmy and UD and poor Max. I'll say this, Jimmy, I was told this last year, before every game, the last person that Jimmy speaks to is Udonis Haslem. Okay. That is how that has worked. And I have no issue with Udonis taking the roster spot. There is a difference in terms of being a coach and being a player. When you're a coach, there's a separation. There's a feeling you're aligned with the coaches. When you're a player, you're aligned with the players. It's easier for him to communicate and to be in those gatherings with them. Doesn't mean he's a spy or anything. UD's the last thing from a narc. Okay, but he's in it with them. That's a different circumstance, Alex. And I think so. I do think I think the roster spot is deserved. The problem for them is that they don't have Oladipo for a few months. They don't have a functioning KZ Okpala, okay? And they're not using the 15th spot. Otherwise, I wouldn't care about the UD spot, okay? He can have it for as long as he wants, but they've left themselves thin because of those others. Now, I'm hearing Victor could be back a little earlier. That would help a lot, okay? And then if they can get anything out of KZ or flip him for something, then that changes the equation. But I don't have an issue with UD. UD is not the problem. The problem is they're trying to stay under the tax. That's the problem.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Great stuff here from Ethan Skolnick. Ethan, let the people know, by the way, because you've launched Starting 9 this week, and it's off to a great success. what you have planned on the next episode and how people can hop in and watch and live chat, listen, all that good stuff.
Well, thanks, dude. I'm going to continue to host 5 on the Floor. We got a new episode coming up tonight. So that's the Heat Pod. You can tell my voice has been like this for 10 days. So I'm hoping it's better by tonight. But then also Starting 9 is going to be every Tuesday and Wednesday at 9 a.m. The 2 days I don't have to drop my daughter at school. Nice. So it'll be Tuesday and Wednesdays at 9 a.m. I think next week we're going to have Josh Moser, who I do some work with at Channel 7. He's the new anchor over there at WSVN, and then my guy Joe Goodman, who I used to cover the Heat with,
who
covers Alabama. He's got a new book out on last year's Alabama season, but of course Alabama's playing Miami, so we'll have some fun with Joe next week. I'll probably end up telling Big 3 stories the whole time because Joe is my road partner. But so it'll be every Tuesday and Wednesday, and then we did make another announcement today. We want to upgrade our Marlins coverage throughout the network, so we brought in Joe Frisaro.
That's so good. I love it.
Who runs Man on Second, which is not just the Marlins, but it's baseball throughout the state at all levels and also beyond. So we're going to start building that out as well.
I love it. Ethan J. Skolnick. Make sure you follow him on Twitter. Check out the sports tweets at 5 Reasons Sports, and then Ethan J. Skolnick for some sports tweets and all the other.
Yeah, not so many. Not so many. I'm going to Quarter Deck, by the way. So
Dude,
I see right
that's
above.
Awesome.
Chanel's out of town, but that's okay. I still go to Quarter Deck. This is true. We have more. I you know what? That's kind of sad, but it's true. Were there 500 people in the crowd last night?
Since I didn't watch, I couldn't tell you. I actually the only game I watched yesterday was the first end of the Cubs Rockies doubleheader because I bet it. Like I've been betting against the Cubs and winning money because they're they traded their whole team, but they did lose yesterday, the game that I bet. So that was the only game I watched yesterday.
Go to Bet US. You got to use one of the 2 codes, either mine or yours. That's how that works. Yeah, I mean Cabrera's first start, it was worth watching, but they looked like there were 12 people there. So that's
sad.
That's unfortunate. Alex, thank you. I'm going to have a dragon roll and something
good
else.
Stuff, man. Ethan J. Skolnick, he's headed out to the Quarter Deck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. Of course, this show and the 5 Rounds MMA show that I do, MMA and boxing, we had an episode last night, is served by the Quarter Deck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. They have 2-for-1 happy hour all day, every day. I mean, how great is that? 2-for-1 drinks all day, every day. It literally never ends, the 2-for-1 at the Quarter Deck. So huge thanks to Ethan J. Skolnick for dropping in. We're going to have Ricky J. Marc. You notice everybody dropping in today has a J as the middle initial. I got to ask Ricky what his middle name is, if he doesn't mind sharing it with me. Is that a personal question? I don't think so. Like, you never know these days. Like, I don't think someone can be offended by me asking for their middle name. Sean Stanley, do you have a middle name, sir? Can you share that with me? I actually know some people who don't have middle names, period.
I do have a middle name. I used it as my wrestling name, actually. It was my wrestling name. Sean Allen.
Sean Allen. That's not so bad. And like usually you can tell because a lot of people obviously in like broadcasting. Oh, Manny's middle name is Alberto. I like that. Alberto, if you want to say it like a gringo. Alberto. It's a good one, man. Mine is John.
Apparently it's not a bad thing. We're getting, I guess these are nicknames coming off. Or is he guessing? Or is he trying to guess Ricky's middle name?
I don't know. It could go either way. Like, because I could see Andy Cornell is Andy in Scotland, great dude. He might be trying to guess Ricky's name because there's a J in it. Or I could totally see Andy James Cornell. It has a nice ring to it, right? Like that could very well be his own middle name. Could very well be his. Jacques. That's a good guess. Ricky Jacques Marc. Oh man, but you notice because like a lot of people in like the radio and TV businesses will go by like stage names, and sometimes they'll use the middle name as the last name because they don't like they don't think their last name like sounds good or whatever. And you can usually tell when someone is using a fugazi stage name when the last name is also a first name. Like you've noticed that. So either they're using their middle name or they've just picked a random first name to use as their last name. I can remember one of the greatest fake broadcasting names I've ever. I'm assuming it wasn't this guy's real name, but like years ago, I didn't really know this dude personally, even though we worked in the same building. But there was a weekend DJ at Light FM. You know, I was working at 790 The Ticket, which was in the same building. Yep. And this person's DJ name was Bruce Wayne. I always thought that was badass.
Bruce Wayne. Okay.
I never asked Bruce if that was his real name or a stage name. I'm assuming it was a stage name.
No, 102 was the one you could see the fish tank, right? When you walk in to the main, or is that 101?
Yeah, no, 101. Yeah, I think it was Light FM. I think 101.5. I think that was the one when you walked in, like the reception area, you could see their studio. I think that was the one. Although I rarely went in like the main entrance. I usually, as an employee, would go in the back way, but I'm pretty sure that was the one that had the
like
fish
us
tank.
interns who get ushered through the front.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, Sean, while you're on the screen, because I was having a conversation with a couple of other, non-pro wrestling enthusiasts last night. Although I think James Walker is kind of into it. I think he was defending pro wrestling a little bit. And we had Manny Chang producing the show, who's a big pro wrestling hater.
Oh, yeah, you know where that went.
So, how the conversation started, Sean, is we were talking about how many MMA fighters like Tyron Woodley, who fights Jake Paul this weekend, are taking these like celebrity boxing fights and like they're Conor McGregor fought Floyd Mayweather a few years ago. How many of these MMA fighters you see taking boxing matches? Mm-hmm. And then sometimes the MMA purists will say, well, if the MMA fighter gets clowned in a boxing match the way, Ben Askren did, and Ben Askren doesn't throw punches when he fights MMA, by the way, but the way Ben Askren got clowned by Jake Paul, does that make MMA look bad when a guy crosses over and does poorly in boxing? I don't think so, because I think people have gotten smart enough to understand, A, a lot of the guys doing this are washed up, retired guys anyway, and B, MMA and boxing are so different. But then I took it to a different place, Sean, because I've noticed the pro wrestling sphere, and you and Jakari and Jonathan do a great show. What is it called? I love the show so much I can't remember what it's called. The pro wrestling show you do on 5 Reasons.
That'd be One Fall.
One Fall. That's right. You guys do a great job on One Fall. And I noticed the whole pro wrestling community losing their minds, losing their collective minds over CM Punk returning to pro wrestling. And like, he didn't even actually wrestle. I didn't watch it either because I don't care. But he like showed up at AEW in Chicago. He's a Chicago guy. Everyone went crazy in Chicago. Everybody's talking about it. Everyone's losing their minds. But Sean, I watched CM Punk in the Octagon. An absolute embarrassment. Yeah. Like how can I take CM? Because in pro wrestling, and I get it, it's theater, right? It's, the outcomes are predetermined. It does, they take real bumps, a lot of athleticism. But the whole suspending reality thing with pro wrestling is these people are pretending to beat the shit out of each other. How can I take CM Punk seriously when this guy fought a couple of actual fights in the UFC and was completely embarrassed? Like he did not even look competent. So how do I take CM Punk seriously as a pro wrestler? I think the mystique is gone, right? Like Brock Lesnar, pro wrestler, he was a UFC champion, legit. Ronda Rousey did some pro wrestling.
He got knocked out twice too, though.
Yeah, but he actually won the title. Like he won some big. Like CM Punk didn't even belong in the. Like, how do I take CM Punk seriously in pro wrestling when I know in real life the guy cannot fight?
Look, first off, it was a money grab by Dana White trying to get him into there. He wasn't. I mean, look, he had rolled around. That was some of his cardio, rolling around with Gracie and some of them. That was his extent of, you want to call MMA, okay? Brock Lesnar was a world-class wrestler. You've had Bobby Lashley, who's made the jump. He's a world-class wrestler. Yeah. Jake Hager, who's now kind of making that jump, is a world-class wrestler. CM Punk was a guy that rolled around for cardio in a gym, but he had gotten
and now he's been exposed. So how do, like, in pro wrestling, how can I take him serious? Like they should have him lose every match because we know he can't fight in real life. He's been exposed.
You are so what's wrong with everybody that doesn't like pro wrestling. This is the thing. They CM Punk brought in 200,000 plus viewers to their show. That should tell you all you need to know about CM Punk. Mm-hmm. He draws ratings for them. And the reason he didn't go back to WWE is because he wanted to have, creative control. Because again, this guy hasn't wrestled for 7 years. There were people crying in the crowd, and people. I mean, it was a legit,
losers
what
crying
is going on there? Oh my goodness.
What kind of a you're crying because CM Punk is back?
Dude, it was in his hometown. They did it perfectly. It was in his hometown. You knew you're going to get the reaction of all these people. You had teased it forever. It was the worst kept secret. And then his music hit to start the show.
Oh my god!
And apparently, Manny's Frenchie. He speaks a lot about Manny there owning a Frenchie. But hey, he made CM Punk tap out.
Oh my god! But by the way, I see some angry. I think some people are enjoying the wrestling talk, although they hate me because I'm hating on wrestling. But other people are asking if they missed the Tua talk. I mean, guys, we spent like the first 25, 30 minutes on Tua. We may circle back to it, but I want to bring in Ricky J. Marc, who is going to save us from the pro wrestling talk. It is my fault because I went there. But Ricky J. Marc here from the 5 Reasons Sports Network joins us now on Donno Daily. Ricky, I'm sorry to let you down. I'm sorry I made your lead in pro wrestling talk.
I like pro wrestling actually. I just hated WWE for the longest time. It's just mad disappointing. You know what? We can do a pro wrestling conversation at some point.
And when CM Punk came back, were you one of
those? Oh no, absolutely not. But I did feel chills. I did. Okay. I understand what he means to the business and how, especially once he went into his promo about how he left pro wrestling when he left Ring of Honor. That was a huge shot at WWE. But I guess that's for another time. We can do that another time.
Now, I do want to get into some Heat stuff with you, but before that, do I have this correct? Because if this is correct, we have a lot to talk about. Are you a Manchester City fan?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So yeah.
So this is a big day because Cristiano Ronaldo is trying to force a move from Juventus to Man City. Okay. Oh, and here we go. Sky appear to be quite behind on the. Yeah, and that's my guy Gianluca Di Marzio from Sky Italy, who's usually on top of this stuff. They appear to be quite behind on Cristiano Ronaldo to Man City saga. PSG have no intention of going there. Player has agreed personal terms with the Premier League side, as now per Di Marzio and others. So. Listen, Cristiano, obviously I've been watching him. I'm an Inter Milan fan, so I've been watching him at Juventus very closely the last 3 seasons. I banter the guy a lot, but like Ricky, the reality for Cristiano at Juventus is he hurt Juventus more for contractual reasons because they don't have Manchester City type money or PSG type money, right? So the fact that they were paying Ronaldo 60 million euros net in wages was taking away from the rest of the squad, right? Where I don't believe Manchester City will have any problem paying him and having an incredible loaded squad. So how excited are you by the possibility of Cristiano and then also rubbing it in the faces of Manchester United fans?
So I'm going to be completely honest with you. I have zero excitement because ever since Pep Guardiola came to City back in 2016, we've been linked to many great players time and again, only for them to not show up. So for example, whenever my brother Felipe and we talk about Man City and stuff like that, there's a quote that he and I often use, and it's basically, until he's taking photos holding up the Man City shirt, he's not a Man City player. If I had $1 for every time a star player agreed to terms with Man City only to not show up, I wouldn't be in crippling debt due to law school. So I wouldn't. Matter of fact, I would have flown back to Paris today on a private jet, but no.
Yeah, and Messi being a recent one who obviously wound up in Paris, but he was linked heavily last year to Manchester City. So I get
but
that.
But they messed up the timing. They incorrectly assumed that the judge would take the pandemic into account when factoring in opt-out clauses and all that other stuff, but that was a faux pas on Messi's part. If he really wanted to leave, he should have left the team when he should have, the same way Cavani left PSG midway through their Champions League campaign.
I love it. We're joined here by Ricky J. Marc on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. By the way, I noticed everybody joining us today has J as the middle initial. We had Ethan J. Skolnick on. DMI, I've determined, I never know these days, Ricky, if it's a personal question. Do you mind if I ask what is your middle name? Because I am very curious.
My middle name is Jamil. It's my dad's name.
People were actually guessing. Somebody guessed Jacques. But no,
No.
Ricky Jamil Marc. I like it. I want to talk some Heat with you, Ricky.
Sure.
And this is something that the guys at the network have been all over this. The last couple of weeks, the Heat don't get a Christmas Day game. I feel they're being disrespected and slept on with the national TV schedule as well. I mean, like, why do people not think, or like, why do these network heads and media members not think the Heat will be interesting? Because I think they're going to be really interesting, especially with Lowry coming in.
I think your guess is as good as mine, Donno, because, when you look at the players that Miami has brought in thus far this offseason, Kyle Lowry, PJ Tucker, and the like, when you look at the team that they already have, there's no reason why Miami shouldn't have a Christmas Day game. However, look, I mean, even the MVP, the reigning MVP, Nikola Jokic, I believe he doesn't have a Christmas Day game either. So if the MVP doesn't have a Christmas Day game, Miami, who barely got into the playoffs last season, shouldn't really be complaining. But then again, you know how it is with Heat Twitter and Heat fans. They'll always find something to complain about, no matter what. But I will say this, though. I was having I think was it Ariel or... It was one of the guys from Full Court Press that I was talking with just yesterday. Or no, actually, I think it was Michael Christian,
nice.
Who hosts a show with Alana Tahauer here on this network. He was griping about the fact that the Knicks have a Christmas Day game and the Heat don't. Well, the reality is the Knicks are the largest market in the country, and if they're even remotely good, you're going to get a ton of views. And what does a ton of views mean? Ad revenue for ESPN and ABC. And it's a money game. It's a business. But I think Miami needs to worry more about having either an ESPN or a TNT game in May than a game in Christmas. I think the coaching staff will be more concerned about making the Eastern Conference Finals than playing on Christmas, because ultimately, Christmas Day game is a huge day for the NBA, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. I mean, Miami's had a ton of Christmas Day games dating back to when Glenn Rice was with this team, and they'll be fine regardless. If anything, they'll just use it as fuel, and hopefully they'll use it to catapult themselves into a top 4 seed. Anything's possible.
By the way, there's a lot coming in on the chat that I want to ask you about, including Ray Grullon says, Ricky J. Marc, you have a great radio voice, I must say. Do you do narration, Ricky? Because like if you were like narrating movies and like documentaries, I would not complain.
Well, that opportunity, that remains to be seen. I'm open to it. I'm open to it.
Into it, man. You got
it is what it is. I got no problem doing that.
Perfect for narration. Like you could be like the Morgan Freeman for the next generation. He's getting up there in years. I think you've got the pipes to replace him.
Hey, why not? Let's do it. If they pay me well, I'll do it, because I value myself.
Yeah, I see Anthony very active in the chat, and he says the Lowry signing is 5 years too late. I mean, I disagree. Obviously, the Heat they brought in a number of players over 30, Lowry included at 35, but his recent production tells me he's still producing like a 25-year-old Ricky. Like, are you concerned about his age?
Yes, you have to be. When it comes to basketball, you have to be concerned with a player's age, because, you always have to think about when the last good day will be, to take a quote from the film A Fault from Our Stars, ironically enough. Granted, Kyle Lowry's not in that kind of medical predicament, thankfully enough, but if he's 35, you got to ask yourself, was last year the last year in which he was as productive as we've expected him to be? If it was 5 years ago and you're signing Lowry to that deal, I say great. But I think it's worth sharing or feeling some concerns. Reservations are understandable. I think it ultimately depends on how much usage he gets, whether or not we're going to be relying on him heavily this season. If Jimmy, Kyle, and I'll just say this, if Bam and Hero take that next step, it lessens the load on Lowry's back, and he's able to just worry about what he does best. The same goes for Jimmy. The same goes for everybody else on that team. It is truly going to be a team effort, and thankfully, unlike last season, the talent will match that. So we'll see.
What do you think, by the way, about Hero? You mentioned Tyler Hero, and I saw Anthony wants to know, is he going to have a comeback season coming up this year?
I have no reason to believe that he won't have a comeback season. I think he'll be solid. I think we mentioned this the last time I was on with you. I'm not expecting a hero. I'm expecting just a solid third-year guard that will give you a little bit of everything. We saw some strides in rebounding on his part earlier last season before the COVID pandemic really struck the team after they played that game with the Wizards. I think if he continues to work on his game and he's able to get his head focused on what matters, then this team will be a lot deeper than they seem at first. I think Hero will be just fine. I'm very optimistic about what he presents, but if he doesn't perform, we know what this team is about. We know what Riley is about. If he smells blood in the water, he will move the players necessary in order to get that championship opportunity. I told people last season, right around the trade deadline before we got Victor Oladipo, who is also someone we need to focus on. Don't get too attached to some of these players like we got attached to guys like Josh Richardson and Justice Winslow and Hassan Whiteside back when they were all productive. Just don't get attached. Understand that this is a business and this team wants to win more than you do. That's why they're in this position.
Well said. By the way, we're getting Champions League draw updates from Manny, and there's some things that affect Ricky, me, and Manny. I'm an Inter Milan fan, Ricky a Manchester City fan, Manny a Real Madrid fan. Real Madrid and Inter are in the same group for the second straight year. Manny, have they done, so I'm guessing those are pots 1 and 2. Have they done 3 and 4 yet, or are we still waiting for the full group? And PSG and Man City are in the same group.
Really?
Oh, yeah, and obviously PSG is the team, they were in pot 2 because they didn't even win Ligue 1 last year.
Oh, wow.
That was a team nobody wanted to draw because PSG have spent like 600 million euros in the transfer. They were already good, and now they're completely
stacked. Is that
stacked.
right?
Whew.
Oh, that is going to be interesting. Okay, I'm expecting some text messages from some friends of mine in the city. Oh, this is going to be interesting. Okay, well, hopefully, Manchester City are willing and able to. Well, they're able. Hopefully, they're willing to pay whatever fee, $25 million, for Cristiano Ronaldo, if that's what it ultimately comes down to. Because look, they were about to spend $150 million on Harry Kane. Cristiano Ronaldo is one of the greatest footballers of all time. Pay the man. Send Raheem Sterling if you need to. Just do what needs to be done to get this GOAT, this living GOAT. And I will say this also. Not to get too dark, but I personally am ashamed of these reports coming out of Manchester right now with regards to Benjamin Mendy.
Oh,
apparently
my God.
He's
I saw that right before the show. Terrible.
Yeah. I was already fed up with his antics before all this happened. I just hope that justice is served and that the right facts come out. And since we don't know, I'm not necessarily going to cast any judgments. But the fact that he is in a position to even be accused is a problem, considering his pattern of behavior since joining this team, in addition to his injury problems. So I'm ready to move on at left back. I imagine a lot of other people are too. But this PSG City matchup in Champions League in the group stages, that's going to be very interesting. We've got a great year of sports ahead of us.
Well said, man. Really, really well said. And God, we covered a lot of ground, from pro wrestling to Champions League, Miami Heat. And I didn't even – the next time I bring you on, Ricky, I want to talk some crypto because I know you're super into it. We're in the crypto clique together. All these NFTs and the Socios fan tokens. Do you own any fan tokens?
I do. Well, not the fan tokens. I have a little bit in that CHZ stuff. But as far as crypto, I'm a spectator like everybody else. I'm not the expert on that. I'm just learning as I'm going along. If anything, hopefully certain things go everybody's way, and we're all partying on yachts. Isn't that what they always say?
Absolutely, yeah. I think our guy Smoot, who's so into the NFT game, he's already got like 3 yachts, I think. Hey, and everyone watching, they see where to follow Ricky on Twitter, at RickyJMarc. Do you have anything you want to promote the next time we'll see you or hear you or both here on the network?
As for me right now, subscribe to RJM Radio. We're getting ready to try to relaunch. It's been a wild few months. We've been having some development hiccups, but we're getting ready to do that again. RJM Radio is available on all podcast platforms. I'll give a shout out to Full Court Press. I'll give a shout out to the Clutch Corner, the first episode of the Council of Kings edition of the Clutch Corner was on just last night. Go on our YouTube channel, which if you're watching this right now, you can already see it. Not only that, I don't know, just be good. Wear a mask, get vaccinated. That's the only thing I can plug, really. It's beyond me.
Love it. Ricky J. Marc, thank you so much, man. Enjoy the rest of your week and your weekend coming up.
All right, you too, man.
Good stuff there. And it was nice to get a Man City fan's take on the potential Cristiano Ronaldo arrival. He has his doubts because you see so many players like Messi recently, now Ronaldo linked to City. If it actually happens, we will see. Their team is going to be fine regardless. They are stacked. Some people got in late and they were asking about Tua Tagovailoa talk. We had a lot of it today, guys. So go back and listen, watch the earlier part of the show. But just to recap a little bit, we went through the unholy trinity of Tua Tagovailoa haters in the national media. And I brought up the point, and I feel very strongly about this. I am bullish on Tua. As you can see, I'm wearing my Bitcoin hat because I'm bullish today. I'm bullish on Tua Tagovailoa, that Tua is going to have an awesome year coming up. I think he's going to throw somewhere between 3,500, 4,000 yards this season. I think he's going to silence the doubters, right? I mean, not only has Tua's supporting cast gotten better, I believe he's got offensive coordinators, two of them who understand his needs better than prehistoric Chan Gailey did. So I think things are on the up and up for Tua. But you're going to notice something this year. I don't think Trevor Lawrence is going to have a good year. And I also don't think it's his fault, right? Because when you have a bad offensive line, wide receivers who can't create separation, a head coach in Urban Meyer, there are already complaints coming out of anonymous Jaguars players about Urban Meyer. Basically, he's running his NFL team the way you would run a college team. Same sort of thing that Nick Saban ran into when he was in Miami, that style doesn't really work. So Urban's got time to adapt it, but he's already, I think, starting to lose his locker room a little bit. If you saw the body language of those players when they were getting smoked in their preseason game last week, you're already seeing signs of them not buying into what Urban Meyer is selling. So Trevor Lawrence, I think he's going to struggle this year. I think he's going to be fine in the long run, but he's going to struggle this year with a head coach who should be in college, bad offensive line, bad receivers, just bad team. They won one game last year, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and also he loses Travis Etienne for the year, which is another blow for him. I didn't mention that at the top of the show. So you're going to see Trevor Lawrence, I think, covered very differently from Tua last year. Tua had a number of valid excuses for why he wasn't a Pro Bowler last season. Hip surgery, incompetent offensive coordinator, bad supporting cast, and yet nobody gave Tua a pass. Nobody gave Tua a pass for anything. Trevor Lawrence this year, I believe he's going to struggle, and people will make excuses for him, and that's fine because there's probably a lot of valid excuses to make, but why wasn't Tua given the same benefit of the doubt that Trevor Lawrence is about to get? These are the questions that drive me crazy. Couple things I want to announce here so you guys can get into this. First, you guys know that our official sports book here of Donno Daily is betus.com. I like to give you guys my picks every day. These are bets that I actually make every day to bet along with me. I gave you 2 picks on Monday. We went 2-0. We had a little bit of a correction the second day. We went 0-2. Yesterday, we went 1-1, but if you bet my picks, you won money because the pick we won on was in the plus. So you did come out in the positive yesterday. I'm only making one bet today because it's kind of a slow day. I don't love the Major League Baseball slate tonight, but I do see an opportunity in European soccer, Europa League qualifying rounds. I'm going with a 3-team parlay today on betus.com. These games, keep in mind, they're all around 2:45, 3 p.m. So be ready to lock these in here within the next hour and a half or so. I've got a 3-team parlay. Bet SK Sturm Graz, Antwerp, and Rangers. If you parlay the 3 of those together, I got about plus 162 odds on that. I believe they will all win comfortably. It was a Carabao Cup parlay yesterday with Arsenal and Southampton, and they won by a combined 13-0 score, and we won money on that. So I like my soccer picks, friends. So bet on Sturm Graz, Antwerp, and Rangers. 3-team parlay about plus 162. And make sure you guys create an account at betus.com. That is the official sports book of Donno Daily. Betus.com. Sign up with our promo code when you make your deposit, 5RSN125. And if you deposit with credit card, you get a 125% sign-up bonus with our code. If you deposit crypto, you get a 200% sign-up bonus with our code. How good is that? Free play money in your account. It is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. Now, another thing people have been asking me over the last couple of weeks, all right, if we're doing a show fantasy football league, and I want to do something with our new fantasy football partner, Underdog Fantasy. I know Manny told me he's in. Sean Stanley told me he's in. I'm in. I want to get viewers involved. If you guys follow me on Twitter at Alex Donno, slide into my DMs. The DMs are open. If you want to play fantasy football with us this year, Underdog Fantasy. They are different. They are unique, and I love what they're offering here. It's the best and easiest place to play fantasy football for big cash prizes. On Underdog Fantasy, you just draft. No need to worry about waivers, lineups, or injuries. Underdog handles all of it for you. Go to underdogfantasy.com or download their mobile app, which is really easy to use. Draft a season-long best ball team, and that's it. No in-season management. They're going to give you $25 when you sign up, so you can take a free shot at a $1 million grand prize in their fantasy football tournament. That's right. You can get a $25 in bonus cash on Underdog Fantasy if you use our code. It's 5RSN. All right, I see our guy David is in. Anthony is in. So you guys just slide into my Twitter DMs and we'll make it happen, okay? I love Underdog because it's so easy to use. The mobile app is slick. The website is user-friendly. So do what I've been doing. Go to underdogfantasy.com. Join a league. You'll be joining our league. We'll arrange that. Draft a team, and that's it. You're good for the season. Remember, go to underdogfantasy.com in the App Store or the Google Play Store. Sign up with the code 5RSN and get a free 25 in bonus cash. So we'll put a league together for everyone who wants to be in. Just follow me. You don't even need to be following me, actually, at Alex Donno on Twitter. Slide into my DMs, and we'll get spots for everybody in our season-long Best Ball Underdog Fantasy League. Real quick, before we wrap it up today, I wanted to ask a question to Manny. And wow, Inter, Real Madrid, and Shakhtar Donetsk are all in a group together. That was 3 out of the 4 in the group last year. That's crazy. I got a soccer question for Manny, because I've noticed with Cristiano Ronaldo trying to force his way to Manchester City, a lot of Manchester United fans, because he played for them, are really upset and really salty, and they think Ronaldo is betraying them because he's a former Man United guy, okay? Now, let me ask you a hypothetical, Manny. I don't think it ever happens at this point because Ronaldo's, already 35, I think. As a Real Madrid fan, and you had Ronaldo's arguably best years, right? As a Real Madrid supporter, if he were to ever turn up and play at Barcelona, would you be insulted by that the way Man United fans are insulted by him wanting to go to City?
First off, Alex, are you able to hear me good?
Yeah, perfect.
All right. Luis Figo, Ronaldo. I'm sure I'm missing a couple of names.
Yeah, right. OG Ronaldo, the
OG Ronaldo. Correct. I'd feel not hurt. I just wouldn't really know why he would even do that. Barcelona, listen, after losing Messi, I think their entire fan base is still trying to get over that. Yeah. Ronaldo coming in, I don't think heals any wounds. Right. The only way I see him ever going there was maybe to cash grab before he ends up coming to the MLS, because we all know that's maybe the plan. Would I be hurt? No, because he came here. We won titles again because of him, and we won La Liga, we won Champions League, we won Super Copas, we won a lot of things with him. I'm very grateful. The moment though he decided to leave Kiev when we won the final trophy with him, and he basically answered the way that I thought he would by saying, yes, this is great. This is what it is. And now the season's over. The moment he said that and I saw him leave the field, I felt like I had to pause myself and say, you know what? This man is going to be one of the best players of all time that I've ever watched, that we've ever seen mostly. And I have to respect that he wants to leave. If he wants to at one point join the rival of Real Madrid, can I Can I be upset about it? No, because I love the club more than I would ever love the player.
Right.
I don't know if that makes any sense to me.
No,
it's like
it makes perfect sense.
It's like for you, the Miami Dolphins are always going to be the number one thing. And let's say Dan Marino left. Well, for example,
he almost
Jason
did
Taylor
in the end. Yeah.
Jason Taylor was loved down here, but we all know the contract situation, and he ends up signing with the Jets, and Dolphin fans are going ballistic, and they're all upset about it. It's like, dude, it's a business. Right. That's how I see this. To me, if Ronaldo ever goes to Barcelona, it's a business. But again, I don't think that really helps Barcelona whatsoever because
it's purely hypothetical because I look at the way a lot of Manchester United fans are just mother bleeping this guy because he's trying to go to City.
Well, but why? The man came off of like he basically was the top ever signing of Sir Alex Ferguson. He won you leagues. He won you a Champions League. Oh, but he missed a penalty. Still, like the man he did things for your club that I'm sorry. How many Champions League trophies or league titles have you won since? Right? Like, let's be honest here. Listen, I know England fans have a pure passion for their club. They have a pure passion for their national team. But this is why whenever they lose, I laugh, I giggle. It's the greatest thing because you can't just have it all your ways, man. Right? Manchester United fans should be still pissed off that they can't even win anything. I mean, last year they made another final and they lost to Villarreal. Villarreal ended top 5 in freaking Spain, dude. Be mad at that. Don't be mad because of Ronaldo going to Man City. And in hindsight, Man City, I'm pretty sure fans are tired of winning the Premier. They want every top Champions League.
Yeah. And my thing about Cristiano Ronaldo is people need to understand he's not loyal to Manchester United. He's not loyal to Real Madrid. He's not loyal to Juventus. He's loyal to one
himself,
thing.
His brand.
Bingo.
He's not loyal to nobody.
He is loyal CR7. To himself. Yeah, and there's a lot of people don't necessarily understand this if you're not a big soccer fan, but there's this understanding, this unwritten rule in soccer that when you score a goal against your former club, you're not really supposed to celebrate, like out of respect your former club. I can remember in Champions League with Juventus, he scored a goal against Manchester United, and he celebrated like a girl on MTV on her 16th birthday. Like he went crazy. I don't see why. But I don't see why Man United fans think this guy is loyal to their club when he already broke the unwritten rule about celebrating scoring in a Champions League match against them. The guy is not loyal to any club.
Well, the Ronaldo that I remember was when we beat them off the red card of Nani. He scored the go-ahead goal to 2-1, and he went behind the goal and he put up his hands.
Yeah,
that's the Ronaldo that I know.
Okay.
It's quite clear that after winning all these trophies afterwards, it was a middle finger to everybody. I don't care what anybody thinks of me. I don't care if Gareth Bale is here. I don't care if Karim Benzema is here. I am CR7. If Florentino Perez does not put me first, if the club do not put me first, I want out. And that's exactly what ended up happening. So again, CR7 is in the business for CR7.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah,
and his love for his national team and his country in Portugal. That's it.
Yes.
Everybody else, bro, screw you. Like, he doesn't owe anybody anything. And then again, United fans should not be upset about him going to Man City because in all honesty, how much can he really do? In a long season, it's not about winning the titles for him. It's about
winning Champions League.
No, it's about winning Champions League. It should be about winning scoring 40+ goals or whatever.
And that's the thing. And Manny, on that point, like, and why Ronaldo, he's the ultimate narcissist. Okay, he spent 3 years with Juventus. They didn't win Champions League. They actually got worse every year in Champions League with him.
Alex, that was the goal.
No, I know. But the first 2 years,
Scudetto was not in the contract,
and they did. The first 2 years in Juventus, they did win the Scudetto, which is the Italian League Championship. The third year, they didn't. They came in 4th place. But Ronaldo, honestly, he didn't even seem to care that the team came in 4th place. They barely made Champions League. He was happy that he scored the most goals in Serie A last year. So he was happier about the individual goal of being the league's highest scorer, which he didn't get the first 2 years there. He wasn't the highest scorer. He was happier about being the league's high scorer than he was about actually winning the Italian league. The guy only cares about himself. We will wrap it up on that note.
No. I mean, my final point is I think he had to find something to feel as a justification for not able to win the Champions League with Juve. Do I feel bad for Juve fans? No, but we all knew that once he signed that contract, it was to win Champions League. He ran so many managers out of town, right? He ran so many people out of town. And I'm still a firm believer that him and Zizou did not like each other. Zizou just said, listen, you're going to, I'm going to put you're going to stay there playing. I'm not going to bench you like I did Bale or James Rodriguez. But listen, again, CR7 does business for CR7. If he's on Man City, do they have a much better shot? Maybe just use him for Champions League. Don't put him in the Premier League because in my eyes, he doesn't have the speed or the strength. Just like Messi. If Messi would have been in the Premier League, no offense, dude, his legs would have been chopped off.
At least Ronaldo, he's got the size for Premier League. What I would have worried about Messi in Premier League is the guy is tiny, and that's a very physical league. Yeah.
All right, Alex. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And he's got the right attitude. Oh, except he flashes that at me. Want to make sure you guys you smash the like button here on Donno Daily. Smash that like button, whether you've enjoyed the conversations or not. Maybe we talked a little bit too much pro wrestling and a little bit too much soccer on this episode for some of your taste, but we also got in our Tua fix and our Miami Heat fix today as well.
Never too much wrestling.
That's right. That's my guy, my go-to pro wrestling guy, Sean Stanley. Although,
please get that fake shit out of here.
I think I won the CM Punk argument, though. Like Sean, the whole case he was making for CM Punk, the guy can't fight. Like he can't fight in a real life situation. So how do I take him seriously?
He never said he was a fighter. They tried to make him a fighter.
Yeah, but isn't the whole purpose of pro wrestling is pretending this person, this guy or this girl can beat up this guy or this girl? And if I've seen CM Punk try to do it in real life and fail at it, how can I take him? I can't take him seriously in the make-believe if I know he can't do it for real.
That's not true. There's half the guys in there now. That's the 80s days. That's back in the old days. If you lost a bar fight, you were fired. They sent you to a new territory.
That's the way it should be. I didn't even know that they did that. That's the way it should be. If you get beaten up in real life, you can't be a pro wrestler. I'm sorry. You could be a jobber. That's all you can be. You can't be anyone who wins a pro wrestling match.
It's about having the it factor, and that's what CM Punk has. It. He's like you, Alex Donno. He has it.
Well, I appreciate that. All right, we'll wrap it up. We've already gone into overtime today. We were a little bit short yesterday, so a little long today. It all evens out, even Steven. Oh, man. So make sure you support our partners, the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. BetUS.com, they are our newest partner. Underdog Fantasy, and I don't know if you're ready for this one as well. You Break Wheel Fix. They are ready. I love it. If you guys have bent or cracked wheels, you know where to go. YouBreakWheelFix.com, and you can get your wheels tricked out as well. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. You Break will be prominently featured on tomorrow's show as well. Huge thanks to everyone who tuned in today, from Anthony, David, Andy. Who else here? Ninja Viking was in. I don't want to scroll up all the way to the beginning of the show. Ricky J. Marc, who joined us today. Ija, David. Huge thank Cap for Life. Huge thanks to everybody who popped in, partook in the live chat today. Partook? I think that's a word. Yeah. We'll talk to you guys again tomorrow. Same time, same channel. Tomorrow, 12 noon, right here. Donno Daily on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Ciao.